right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Good Morning Truckee. It's October 12th, and we are going to be doing a Good Morning Truckee on the Truckee and Reno Airport overview. Presenters this morning are Kevin Smith, the General Manager of the Truckee Tahoe Airport District, and Darren Griffin, the President and CEO of Reno Tahoe International Airport. My name is Raven Whittington. I'm filling in for Jim Porter this morning. He is off on his world travels, and we will jump in. So just a reminder that all the programs are rerun throughout the month on Channel 18. And the recordings are also available for viewing on Truckee.com and TahoeTruckeeMedia.com. We want to thank our sponsors, Tahoe Forest Health System, Porter Simon, Dixon Realty Truckee Tahoe, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, NV5, Auerbach Engineering, JK Architecture Engineering, Truckee Tahoe Media, Tahoe Truckee Media, Sierra Sun, Moonshine Inc., 101.5 Truckee Tahoe Radio, the Town of Truckee, and the Truckee Tahoe Airport District. We'd also like to recognize the committee that puts together this gathering every month. That's Lynn Saunders and the chamber staff of Ruth Gersey, Melissa Williams, and Carolina Pacheco. Also, we'd like to thank Kelly Cutler with CAT, Mayumi Elegata with Moonshine Inc., Ernie Grossman, Gerald Herrick with the Fire Department Board, Tony Lashbrook, Jim Porter of our very own Porter Simon, and Deb Ryan of TTCF, as well as Ted Owens with the Tahoe Forest Health System. All right, so before we get into our speakers, it's just a reminder that we're going to ask questions if you have them after both speakers present. And if you have any questions, put them into the chat here on Zoom, or you can text them to 530-412-3719. And with that, I'd like to present Kevin Smith, who's been the general manager of the Truckee Tahoe Airport for over a decade. He provides steady leadership of all aviation activity at the airport, including how the airport is connecting to the community and how you engage in the conversation. So Kevin, give us the update. Oh, you're currently on mute, Kevin.
Sorry, I hit the button. It didn't go for me. Sorry.
That's right. It's easier to hear you.
Good. Thank you all. No, it's great to be here. And I just wanted to say, before I kind of start my quick presentation, that we are really looking forward to inviting everyone back to the airport as soon as we can. I know we're in constant conversations with Lynn and, following COVID protocols. I've got a great source of information here at the airport district with Hardy Bullock, who's our supervisor in Nevada County, tried to track when we can have these meetings back in person at the airport. So hoping that happens soon. Let me share screen here. Can everyone see a slide that says connected by more than a runway? Looking good there? Perfect. So I think this is great. I'm going to do a quick little thing, and then I want to introduce Darren Griffin with Reno Tahoe. I've gotten to know just a little bit in some meetings, and I think you'll be fascinated to hear kind of some of the things they have going down there, because I know a lot of us use that airport also. And so I have 144 slides. I'm going to get through them, try to get through them. I'm kidding. I've about 15, so we're going to do that really quick and kind of get through this. But let me get the right button here on my screen. All right. So I always like to start off, because people always ask, what are the boundaries of the airport district? People get a little bit confused as to where the district is. I'm going to cover a lot of things, but I'm going to kind of go a little bit quick, and then hope, if you have questions after, we can go through that. But here is the district. It's the eastern portion of Placer and Nevada County. So we provide aviation services and any other service we could provide that we think our constituents need in that area. And you can see the airport right there in the, if I get my cursor up to the screen, right here in the middle. And there you have it. It's about almost 500 square miles, about 37,000 people we think live full time in that area. And our airport had about 40,000 operations in 2020. That includes gliders, touch and go operations, as well as jets, turboprops. About half our traffic are jets and turboprop aircraft that we see here. The airport this is a view. This isn't our tower. A lot of people think this is our traffic control tower. This is actually our dispatch center, what they call Unicom. And these folks run the nerve center of the airport, and those busy cycles with aircraft coming and going. Our staff is up there, managing the operation in that facility. But we are a general aviation airport. We don't have any scheduled commercial service, but we do have commercial flights that come and go from the airport all the time. And these are unscheduled. These are charter operators. These are what we call fractionals, where people buy a membership in an aircraft, as well as a lot of, small private owners of aircraft, small piston aircraft that come up. I have a few pictures I'm going to show you of that. We have about 150 aircraft that are based at the airport. That's kind of a tax purposes term, but they keep the aircraft here. We have 234 hangars. And there are 15 businesses that operate at the airport I was trying to get a count of the number of employees, but it's in the hundreds that come to work here every day. And that's in the hundreds is when I had Clear Capital coming here every day. They have a smaller skeleton staff that's in their building over here with a lot of their people still working from home. So the airport runs on cycles. So this is a picture of an average summer weekend, starting around Thursday to Monday. The ramp can just fill up with aircraft. And, this is our west ramp right around the 4th of July. These are a lot of different types of aircraft that come in. But a lot of folks in the community think that the only aircraft that come and visit are large business jets. And it's not. I mean, this aircraft, let me get my cursor into the right screen. This airplane right here, there's a few of them out there that people of average income buy these and fly them all the time. That come and go. You can buy an aircraft for the price of a $40,000 car, a Tesla, something like that. You can afford one of those. You can afford an aircraft, and so people do come, and we have second homeowners as well as our own residents that fly these aircraft around the area. But then it goes to this. That's kind of the season we're in right now, where I'm looking down the ramp, but there's nothing out there the whole way down. And that's our typical fall and spring season, and things do slow down. We are seeing that shoulder season shrink a little. We're still seeing more activity in those time periods, but that's that's kind of how we have to operate the airport on these seasonal cycles, like the rest of our community. Thought I'd give a quick update on our budget. The district budget in 2022. This is subject to change because we adopt our budget in December on a January 1st start. But this is how it's going to be. We think it'll be looking for 2022. We have about $8.2 million in revenue from fuel sales, property leasing, rents, warehouse, aircraft services, parking, tie downs. There's about $8 million that come through the district in revenues there. We're expecting about $7.2 million in property tax. This funding is regular and predictable, and it really helps us maintain a lot of the programs, community programs, property acquisition, as well as to help airport operations and functions at the airport. We are this year, $410,000 of FA funding is what they've assigned to us. This funding is irregular and unpredictable. As an example, we had $4.2 million in last year for a big taxiway project. None of that revenue comes from federal general fund revenue. It comes from all kinds of fees that we have on tickets, on fuel, different sources that are generated within the aviation industry that helps us with that funding. In 2022, we're expecting about $14 million, or almost 15 in expenses. That's buying fuel. That's payroll, benefits, operating, repairs, maintenance. We spend about $1 million a year, about $900,000 a year on air traffic control services to maintain our tower. Capital projects coming up in 2022, about $2.2 million. And then we have about a $5.5 million reserve that the airport has. So that's just the airport finances in a snapshot right there. This is historic property tax revenue. People ask about this frequently of where property tax, where does it come from and how much is it? You can kind of see going back to 94 how it's grown, substantially there. You can see the recession there in 2008, where it dropped a little bit, and then wow, it's really gone up. The blue line is Placer County, the revenue we get from Placer County, and that does come from both. A lot of people associate Placer County with the basin. A lot of that revenue comes from, on this side of the basin, the North Stars, Martis Camp, Wahatan, Ponderosa Palisades, all those areas. And then the red line or the orange line there is Nevada County. So that's kind of an interesting snapshot of our property tax revenue, which we as a district take very serious. We feel it's important for us to be good stewards of this money and put it to work, back into our community in various different ways. This is our tower. So I know it looks like something out of Kandahar, Afghanistan, and they actually have towers like this in those places, but it works really well. And this was an experiment that we did about 3-4 years ago. We're finding great success with it. This tower also has a recent surveillance system that we put in called ADS-B. I won't get into all the detail of that, but that is the new, essentially, radar system that will be out there. It functions differently than radar, but it provides a similar, more detailed product that our air traffic controllers, both here and in Hayward, California, that we communicate with, are able to see aircraft. And so just so everyone knows, before we instituted this system, below about a year and a half ago, below 10,000 feet, air traffic control couldn't see any aircraft coming and going from our airport. And when we built the system, it also now covers the South Lake Tahoe Airport. That allows us to create some efficiencies with airspace and also to develop procedures that we're trying to do to move aircraft away from homes, find more efficient and safer arrival and departure paths for aircraft to come into our airport. And so that's been an awesome thing. If you look at the tower today, there's an antenna right here. There's 2 of them on top of the tower that are those ADS-B antennas that are a satellite-based surveillance system. So it's kind of an awesome thing that we've been able to get going in there. A little bit about noise and annoyance. That's a constant concern in the community, and we honor that and spend a lot of time thinking about how we can do better. We do have a curfew from 7 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's followed pretty well. We do have some incentives in the morning hours where you might see some folks flying, but primarily we have pretty high compliance between that 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. On a typical year, we receive about 800 noise comments from about 200 households. That has grown, and we've seen it grown again. It's grown again in 2021. We want those people to call us. We want to interact with them. We encourage them to tell us what they're experiencing so we can work on improvements to our system. This map that I put up, it's a typical noise abatement map that we have. If you go to the bottom bullet there, the TruckeeTahoeAirport.com, go to our aviation link, then procedures, you can see a lot of information that we have on what we're asking aircraft to do and how we would like them to fly to avoid neighborhoods. It doesn't always happen, but we have a pilot community that really works hard to try and do that. So I do want to update the community. We did have 2 tragic accidents this summer, and I think it's important to talk about those. That's never happened in my tenure here. We do have incidents periodically. A nose gear collapses or the pilot lands with the gear up, things like that'll happen that are minor. But this year was very challenging in that we had a Cirrus SR-20 on June 15th that crashed near the Lahontan neighborhood. We had 1 injured, 1 fatality. That accident occurred on climb out, and the NTSB is still investigating. We're going to get more information on that as it continues. And then we also had, as we all know, the Challenger 605 business jet that crashed on arrival about a month later, or not even a month, about over a month later, coming into runway 11. And that was right into the Martis Valley Estates neighborhood, close to the Second Fairway on Ponderosa. 6 fatalities, and again, the NTSB is still investigating that. So I want you to know that Challenger accident, along with a couple of others that you may have heard about on national news, has really prompted the National Business Aviation Association, the FAA, and the NTSB, and a lot of different organizations really look at what is going on and what are ways that we can make sure these preventable accidents don't happen. And so we are watching this very closely. And we'll provide more information to the community as it becomes available to try and assure us with every bit that we can that these things don't happen again. And so I just wanted to give an update on that too. I'm really excited about our airport community team. I know Director Diamond from our board of directors. I wanted to introduce him. He's also with us today. He gave us quite a bit of input on this, but this program was developed and built to try and engage our community more with us and maybe leverage and use some of the things we've learned from these Zoom meetings. And so we have a monthly virtual public forum to talk about all kinds of different issues that we're having at the airport. There's one tomorrow, and we're going to talk about hangars, everything you want to know about aircraft hangars. Next month, we're going to talk about our agency partnership community sponsorship program next month in November. And then in December, we're going to talk about the budget and what's going on with our budget. So it's 6 p.m. to 7:30. You can see the link on our website, front page of our website. You can find out how to sign up. You do need to sign up. You'll get a link, and then you can participate with us and in a free flow of ideas that go back and forth, and that will go to our board. So really encourage everyone to sign up to be on our airport community team. This is another map that we put up. I'm hoping it looks like it's pretty clear. It was a little blurry when I was setting this up, but we're also just trying to inform and talk to folks about carbon impact as we go through and look at carbon reduction strategies, and just letting our pilot community as well as the passengers that use aircraft kind of understand what the carbon footprint is of those flights, and if there are ways they can reduce that carbon footprint by different ways of travel. We're just letting them know what that is. And so you can see there on the right side the did you know all the carbon what an average car as we're driving around, what our house generates, and then compare that with these different city pairs from Dallas, Portland, Oakland, Orange County, Phoenix. Those are very common city pairs. A lot of our traffic's from this Southern California and the Bay Area. So just letting people know what the carbon footprint is, so just they can be conscious and think about ways they can reduce or offset that carbon. That goes along with some of the other initiatives that we have going on with greenhouse gas reduction. So emergency services is another thing that we're very proud of that we help with: firefighting, search and rescue, military, Civil Air Patrol, the search and rescue here, emergency management. We have Red Cross supplies stored at the airport, and obviously Care Flight, our air ambulance, that we work very hard to make sure that they have a place to operate here in our region. And I'll just show you a few pictures. This picture of the Dixie fire, or no, this is actually the what was the other fire? Just it was earlier in the year. It'll come to me in a second. But these are these fires that we have close by. And we, when that happens, we do get almost every time a heavy presence of helicopters that come and go from our airport. Occasionally, we've had tankers that'll come in for fuel as fuel supplies around our regional airports are balanced. They'll come in and they'll get fuel from us too. But during the Caldor fires, the Dixie fire, these fires all we supported those here at our airport. And this is that LA County. If you watched the 60 Minutes episode about 3 weeks ago, they were talking about these helicopters that are new that can fight helicopters, or can help fight fires at night using some of the military technology that's out there. So that's really a fun thing that we were able to be involved in. And they actually filmed that 60 Minutes episode on the deck right behind my office. It was kind of fascinating to watch that take place. But it's very interesting things that they're doing. And obviously, there's still some work that CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, all these operators need to do to coordinate if you watch that episode. But we are very open and really open the airport up to supporting these. And we've had up to 12 firefighting helicopters based at the airport for some of the different events that we have. I also a lot of people are still unaware of this facility in Tahoe City. This is a heliport that we built, a facility that we own in Tahoe City that helps CAL FIRE, CalSTAR, the Coast Guard, the Placer County Sheriff, the CHP, be able to land and pick up in a certified helipad in the basin. And we're looking at other places where these could be useful, but we are trying to spread out and make sure that the full district feels served by the facilities that we have out there. But this is right on the Tahoe City Golf Course. If you drive by past just above the fire station there, that's where this facility is. So a couple other initiatives underway. I'm down to my last couple slides. We are in 2022 going to be updating our airport master plan, and there's more information to come on this. We're going to be looking at a lot of different things. One of the things we're going to be looking at is possibly a third runway option, which we think may help reduce annoyance by pointing aircraft in certain directions, and maybe hopefully enhance safety by being able to bring aircraft in on a new route into the airport. It's a big task. There's a lot to talk about with that. There's a lot of different feelings and opinions on it. There's a lot of federal regulation around these kind of things. And so that's one of the things that's coming up as part of that master plan effort. We just recently helped acquire the Truckee Springs property. Red Truck is still, they had to close, staffing issues. They closed for about a week, but they're back open. So come have lunch, enjoy the airport, come out and see us. We're right now, there's a land transfer swap that we're working with TTSA. I know there's a lot of different opinions on that in the community. We do want to hear from folks. That's not finalized yet, but we are still working through the process of exchanging some property north of the airport for some property closer to the airport, and we are interested in community thought on that. And if people have want more information about what we're doing there, please let us know. We just did a big revamp of our agency partnership program, and if you're interested in how we as an airport district can partner with other public agencies and working with nonprofits to get things done that help our common constituents, please talk to us or talk to the Community Foundation, which is now helping us with that program. And that's a program we fund with property tax that was just revised. We just helped facilitate the creation of the Carbon Zero Truckee Tahoe Coalition. I think I've got that name right. It's a group. David Diamond, Director Diamond, and Anna, and some others that are on this call were very involved in helping to set that up. And it's an exciting new endeavor, kind of patterned after the Mountain Housing Council a little bit that's coming up. And we're hoping to be able to branch this out and get us all talking about the common things that we're doing to reduce our carbon footprint and be able to build collaborations between organizations on common goals that we have. So we're active in that. Workforce housing, very important with what we're doing there, very engaged in those things. And then right now, we are having conversations about our air show. We have, we do want to hear from folks. We've heard from lots of folks about the air show, whether we should be doing an air show, whether we shouldn't, be doing an air show, and how that should work. So we do have coffee talks coming up. Some of you are familiar with this system, but these are coming up, starting on Friday, and then next week, and then all the way, to the 27th, where you can sit down with myself and some board members, and we want to hear people's ideas on what we should be doing with this air show. It's a big expenditure, almost $250,000, does generate revenue for some nonprofits, but we do want to know what the community thinks we should be doing with the future of our air show. Last slide. I just wanted to briefly talk about how we as an airport collaborate with Reno Tahoe International Airport, the airport authority down there. The biggest thing that we do with them and other businesses here locally is the Regional Air Service Corporation. There's I think there's actually more than 26 members now. But up here locally, we've got quite a few local agencies that you can see up there, in addition to a lot of organizations from Carson City and all through the Reno area. And our goal, where we provide funding to provide incentives to attract more abundant nonstop air service for our region. So I always want people to know that we do advocate for you, even if you don't use the aircraft that use our airport. We do advocate for you and in partnership with Reno Tahoe to get cheaper and better air service into the airport. I think they've done a fabulous job over the years providing us lots of options, and we're looking at more. We also support the North Lake Tahoe Express, our shuttle that goes back and forth from the airport. And periodically, we do support each other's noise programs when we're trying to figure out, aircraft that are flying into the area that receive complaints and which airport where they go into and how we coordinate together. So just a few things that are going on there. So with that, that's my presentation. I hope I didn't take too much time. I want to introduce Darren Griffin, the CEO of Reno Tahoe International Airport. He's going to give you an update. And he took the helm in August, I believe it was August of 2020, if I have that right. And it's been great having him there. He's done quite a few things down there. He's held leadership roles at small, medium, and large hub airports and general aviation airports across the area. Recently came to us from Portland, the Port of Portland in 2004. He served as the airport's director of operations there and their general aviation manager. From 2000 to 2004, he was the state airports manager for Oregon Department of Aviation. Prior to 16 years in Oregon, he held a position as the deputy director of Yuma International Airport. He's an Embry-Riddle grad. That's an aeronautical university, a very good one in Arizona, and served in the U.S. Army and also the Reserve, and is an accredited airport executive. And we're very grateful he's here in the region. And I just know, just in the airport community, we've already seen a lot of great leadership from Darren, and I'm excited to have him here and thank him for taking time to talk with our community up here. With that, I'll turn it over to to Darren. And I'll stop screen sharing. Sorry.
Great. Thank you very much for that introduction, Kevin. It's really great to be with everybody. Let me see if I can bring up my screen, and I will run you through a deck that I have here. Can everybody see that screen? Okay. Okay. I think we got it there. So, good morning. I'm really happy to be with you this morning, Kevin, Lynn, chamber members. It's my first opportunity to speak with you in my now, I think, 14 months here in the Reno Tahoe International Airport area. It's been an exciting time to step into a new leadership role. I will certainly tell you that. And I'm going to run you through here just kind of an update on what's going on here at our airport, our two airports, and then happy to take some questions here at the end with Kevin, I believe is the plan. So I think you know who we are, Reno Tahoe Airport Authority. I oversee that organization. I work for a 9-member board of trustees here that just do a fantastic job supporting our efforts, helping me guide through what seems like endless choppy waters these days, trying to work our way out of a pandemic. But in spite of that, we have a lot of good information to share with you this morning. It's obviously an important economic engine, like all airports are here in the Reno Tahoe region. Pre-pandemic or non-pandemic years, we're calling it now, more than $3 billion in total economic impact, and we see that growing. 11 passenger airlines based here right now, and 3 cargo carriers. At the Stead Airport, we have approximately 200 based aircraft, of course, the home of the National Championship Air Races, which took the year off in 2020, along with most other events, but came back last month very, very successfully. Great crowds out there and great races. My first chance to see that, and what an event that was, and what a great way to showcase aviation. Also, the air tanker firefighting facility owned and operated by the Bureau of Land Management up at Stead Airport, extremely busy the entire summer, as you can probably imagine. 20 to 30 aircraft based there at all times, coming from all across the country. Aircrafts of all different shapes and sizes, even air tankers that I haven't seen before, and been doing this for a while. Fighting the Dixie Fire, Beckworth Complex, which you could see from the airport, the Tamarack Fire, and then of course Calder. And we were kind of sitting between all these fires all summer. So like you all, a lot of smoke impacts. We had a lot of low visibility impacts here at the Reno airport, just because of getting so much smoke rolling in from fires north and south of us. And of course, Stead is also a drone test site. Not as busy as it used to be, probably pandemic driven, but still one of the state of Nevada drone test sites. The pandemic has been a one-of-a-kind event to hit aviation, especially commercial aviation. I think Kevin would agree. We've learned that general aviation has shown a lot of resiliency through the pandemic, and how important it is to commerce and travel. Commercial aviation basically was brought almost to a complete stop in 2020, as you all know. And we all had to pivot to a lot of things we weren't very used to focusing on, in terms of masks and sanitation levels inside an airport, approaching that of a hospital, it feels like at times, but it's what needed to be done to fight the virus. And along with that, like a lot of organizations, we had to cut costs quickly and deeply. We did all those things and made it through, and are grateful for all of our essential employees, which custodians and firefighters, police officers, all the people that it takes to run an airport every single day who don't get to work from home. And we're just eternally grateful for all of them and what they did to help get us through. Not that we're through it yet, but I think we are each day getting a little closer to the new normal and understanding what it takes to just coexist with COVID. Our traffic here has been an interesting journey. I will tell you that the chart in front of you, the red line is 2020. That's from the beginning of February through October. You can basically see what the pandemic did to our traffic, almost down to zero there in the spring of 2020, and then kind of limped along for the rest of the year. The gray line is 2019, which was our last, I guess you would call it, really strong year. And the blue line is this year, 2021. And, we caught up to 2019 right around Memorial Day weekend, which was far better than most airports in the U.S., and that's because of the leisure appeal that the Reno-Tahoe region has. And we were above 2019 for a couple months there. You can see there's a seasonal adjustment that occurs right around Labor Day. And also the blue line diving there was the seasonal adjustment at the exact same time that South Lake Tahoe was being evacuated due to the Calder fire. It had a very direct impact to our activity levels here. And then we kind of limped along for a few weeks, and it started roaring back here for fall break in the state of Nevada, which I wasn't familiar with, but it's a great idea of giving kids a week off where you can actually get into resorts and hotels in October because it's the shoulder season for everybody else, and that drives a lot of business through this airport. We're now holding steady right about 10% down from 2019. We think we are likely to stay there until the next peak. But the national average is still about 20% down, 25% down from 2019. So because we have a strong leisure appeal, the resorts, the lake, the gaming, all of that, it's driving a lot of our recovery, and we're very grateful for that. We have been growing during the pandemic, which is kind of counterintuitive, but we have added 2 new airlines since the beginning of the pandemic and 15 new destinations, 8 of those with one airline that I'll talk about in my next slide. But we've also picked up some other destinations I'll show you on the map that July was our highest passenger numbers since August of 2007. And it was extraordinary to see the level of activity through this airport. 24 nonstop destinations. This summer it's seasonal, so we pick them up and then they drop off again as the seasons end. That equals the highest number of nonstops we've ever had at this airport, going back to the Reno Air Days. In fall 21, system-wide, most airlines pulled back on their schedules. That includes us, so we lost a number of those seasonal markets as the bookings softened. People are going back to school, and business travel has not returned to commercial aviation anyways. I think you certainly see it in general aviation, but in terms of companies putting their employees back in transit, moving around the country in the front of aircraft, we have not seen much of a return yet on that. I'd still say it's a pretty cloudy picture. With all the work from home now, I think the business traveler is going to morph into something different from what it used to be, and we're all really interested in that. Through all this, we've dealt with a myriad of challenges. Not on here is fire and low visibility and fuel. Those were national news issues here of the fuel shortage that we were enduring this summer. We had more than 150 flights canceled due to low visibility. The smoke was just so thick here that you couldn't land or take off aircraft, which tells you how bad it is, because aircraft are used to operating in low ceilings and rainy, snowy conditions and fog to a degree, but we were below what we call our minimums for many days because of the smoke between the fires. That activity level also put a ton of pressure on our infrastructure. We're almost out of parking every weekend. We still are. Every weekend here, we're messaging people to get a ride to the airport because people have not gone back to Uber and Lyft the way they were pre-pandemic, which is interesting. We're not sure why that is. It's a public health function. It'll probably change, but it's putting a lot of pressure on infrastructure and, of course, labor that is affecting virtually everybody. It's a struggle to fill positions. It's a struggle to staff the roles that are critical to operating an airport every day of the week. And so that continues to take a tremendous amount of energy. The new airline I mentioned is AHA, which stands for Air Hotel Adventure. You may have seen this in the news in the last couple of weeks. They will launch on October 24th. We're pretty excited to base an airline here again for the first time in about almost 20 years since Reno Air left. And they go to 8 new currently unserved destinations. You'll notice they're secondary markets. There's clearly a strategy here of connecting dots on the map that don't typically have a lot of air service. Those are locations that are anxious to add service. The real idea here is most of this traffic will be inbound to our region from those secondary markets for gaming, for resorts, skiing, snowboarding, all of it. And it's a nice aircraft, 50-seat Embraer 145. It's a nice basically a really big business jet, if you will. These flights are all about an hour and really easy in and out. And if you are outbound, it's a great way to get to those secondary markets without having to connect through a hub. They'll fly each one of these about every 3 days at the max. Some of them they're flying every other day. So the idea is as you're coming into the Reno Tahoe region and spending a couple days and then heading back out. Or if you're originating from this area, you're going for business or pleasure to one of those regions, and then you catch the ride back in 2 or 3 days. So you have to kind of plan around that schedule, but it's a really interesting concept. We're really anxious to see how it does. I definitely see some enthusiasm building, and I'm not sure pre-pandemic you would have seen something like this. This is definitely the dots on the map being connected and not everything running through a hub is something we see more and more of right now. This is our overall route map, and you can see there, the green lines are the year-round. This is what we have all year, every day, essentially. The blue lines are the seasonal routes. Some of those were new in this year, and some of them we've had before and lapsed, and then we got them back. It's a great map, lots of connectivity there. I'm going to highlight Charlotte. For the first time ever on American Airlines, we had the nonstop to Charlotte this summer. I took that with my family to head out to vacation in South Carolina. Great route. Atlanta seasonal, all the big ones there. Chicago, great service to Texas, and then Austin started last month, and Austin is year-round every day. So if you are interested in getting to Central Texas, South Central Texas, that is a fantastic route. We've never had Austin on American. We had it briefly with Frontier a few years ago. So we're excited. And of course, the West Coast connectivity is phenomenal. We've got a record amount of flights to Southern California. And you pick the airline, you can get to Southern California on them, and of course, other West Coast markets in the Northwest. So a really great route map, but we never stop trying. We are working on getting service to Hawaii, nonstop, first ever, trying to get that. Nashville, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area, South Florida. So we are always in conversations with airlines about what might work for us. And of course, it's a very different market now post-pandemic. So, and it's also a question of what are the airlines able to do? As you've all seen, Southwest has struggled this week. They're our #1 carrier. All the airlines are taking their turns with disruptions, whether it's labor or equipment or fuel or training, you name it. It's not as stable as we work through the pandemic. And so that's part of the conversation with the airlines. This is our annual passenger count. You can see the trajectory we were on. For the 6 years preceding the pandemic, calendar year 2020's official number, and 2021 is our forecast. And I will tell you, we're going to do better than that. I think we were astounded at how strong our traffic was this summer, and this fall we're trending above where we thought we would be. So I think we're going to comfortably beat the 2021 forecast of 3 million passengers there. And we actually moved up in airport ranking in terms of passenger counts and changed FAA hub status because of how strong we performed during 2020. So it's interesting to see, how airports are performing, and those that rely on international traffic are really still lagging, and those that are more domestic faced with a lot of leisure traffic, the beach markets in Florida and California and the mountains like us are doing really well. Huge thank you to Kevin and the other partners in the Regional Air Service Corporation. We really appreciate the partnership, the involvement. Speaking with one voice as a region to airlines, and you can see the list there of some of the partners that we have, really sends a strong message to airlines. They're interested in the growth of our region. They're interested in, how they can generate revenue and profits. That's the whole point of flying an airline. And it's a kind of a mystery right now what consumer behavior is. And so being able to speak with one voice, being able to partner in marketing with air carriers when they offer us new routes, all of that is really critically important. I'd never seen an organization like this until I got here. This is a unique phenomenon, quite frankly, that's incredibly successful, incredibly creative, and just speaks to the partnership and collaboration in this region And it's really fun to be a part of this. And thank you to Kevin and his team for being part of it, for steering business our way, for being involved in the conversation around our two airports and how we can support each other. My last slide, infrastructure. This is a drum I'm starting to beat pretty loudly. In fact, 3 hours, Senator Jackie Rosen will be here to join me for a press conference to talk about her work on the bipartisan infrastructure bill and how we can put some of that money to use here at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. If any of you have flown through here, you've been looking at the same concourses since 1980. That's when they were opened. They are still the same. While we dress them up on the inside, it's the same buildings. They haven't gotten any bigger. And in 1980, we were parking the 737-200 outside, and we are now striping for the MAX 7, 8, 9, and 10, which are, quite frankly, a lot larger than the 737-200. We also are pushing a lot more people through here. And so we're focused on infrastructure. We really need help from Congress to rebuild our concourses. We're working through a study right now to identify expansion or replacement alternatives for them. Before we even get to that, we're expanding our ticketing hall. Everybody here I've noticed is carrying skis and snowboards and golf clubs. And so there's a lot of checked baggage. And this summer really highlighted the congestion challenges that we have in our ticketing hall. We're out of parking. Like I said, we need more public parking, and our rental car facility, which is part of our garage, is dated and undersized. And we hope to have by the end of this year a new plan for parking and rental cars that'll lead to a private investment for a new rental car center. It'll create a state-of-the-art experience for all of you and any of your friends or family that are flying through the airport renting cars. All of it needs to be modernized. And so we're approaching a generational investment in our infrastructure here. The region is growing, and we have to grow with it. We also want to make sure it's an airport people continue to really enjoy using. We get a lot of positive feedback on its size. It's easy to navigate. You don't get stuck in places. You get through it pretty quickly. We want to hang on to that, but we have to meet the needs of the region. And so it's a delicate balance, but it's an exciting time right now to step in and get involved in all of this. And so I'm really excited with where we're going. And with that, our main runway is scheduled to reopen later this week. That's been closed since March for major reconstruction. We're excited to get back our 11,000-foot primary runway just in time for winter, which connects us with the rest of the world. But as Kevin knows, airfield construction is almost never ending. There'll be more, but when you take down a main runway, it's painful to our operators, to our airlines. It's a lot of disruption there, and we're excited to get this thing reopened later this week. Thank you very much for the invitation. That is my last slide, and I will stop my share. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Darren, and thanks, Kevin. We really appreciate it. Sounds like a lot of exciting stuff coming up for the Reno Airport, and Truckee Airport always serving as a hub of the community. I have a question for each of you, if I may, to kick it off, and then we'll open it up to the public. Kevin, something I hear all the time is questions about whether the airport can direct planes when they come in or go out. And you mentioned that it's you ask people to do or pilots to come in certain ways. Is there anything coming up in the future that you might be able to direct flight paths? Give us a little idea about that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and something we spend a lot of time on. For a lot of you that know Hardy Bullock, he and his team spend a lot of time on that. And so we really don't, when the aircraft lift off the runway, we don't have the ability to have direct control of that, meaning we don't have the authority to tell them exactly where they can fly. But we try and influence it. We try and influence at a high level. That's one of the reasons we've instituted our air traffic control tower. One of the things we've done with the tower is be able to institute calm wind runway programs. And we've seen substantial increases in moving aircraft to our secondary runway for early morning calm wind departures so they take off to the north and not to the west where there's less homes, and we can send them out over the bug station and the reservoirs. So we'll do things like that. We also, coming up here in the next few months, you're going to see some more information coming out on flight procedure development, where we're leveraging our tower and this new ADS-B system that we work with the FAA to install to build new flight procedures that we hope can also do that and move planes away from home. But the FAA maintains 100% jurisdiction over that, but we have good relationships with them and try and influence that as best we can.
Got it. Thank you, Kevin. And then Darren, as I'm a lawyer, I have an interesting question, or at least interesting to me. How are the typical sort of contracts with the airlines for, okay, we want you to fly to Nashville for a year and it'll be direct? Is that something do the airlines usually approach you? Do you reach out based on what you're hearing from the consumer base here in Reno and try to contract? And how long do those typically go? Because sometimes I see, oh, I know that this flight used to go direct to some location, but it no longer does. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Sure. Thanks for the question. We don't have any contractual requirements of an airline to fly any particular route. We are always studying our traffic, the passengers, where they're going. We have the ticket data, and so are the airlines. And typically it goes both ways. They may approach us with an idea or see if we're interested in them flying something. We're always working on a list, and we have an air service development plan of our primary and secondary markets that we would like to see airlines try a flight to. Sometimes you start seasonally, and then it stimulates demand, and then you try and stretch it into a year-round service. We have airlines that are what we call signatory airlines. They're leasing space for us for a predetermined number of years. And so we know they're going to be here, but where they fly is ultimately up to them. We will do marketing cooperations with them. And so we will match marketing dollars so that we try and stimulate awareness of a new route. Austin is a good example where we didn't see that one coming. American called us and said, listen, this is something you've been asking for 10 years. And that was true, although we hadn't been asking recently, and certainly not during the pandemic. And they said, we're ready to give it a try, and we want to go every day, year round. And of course, our answer was yes, and let's partner on marketing. And so then you just hope the flight is successful. And that's what's in it for us and for everybody on this Zoom, is the more we use these flights, the more likely they are to stay in the market. And if they're not, the leash on an airplane is shorter than ever in my career. Airlines will pull a flight on very short notice if they don't see it performing, because they just don't have a lot of margin to take an operating loss on a route. So no contracts, but it's always a fluid conversation from both sides.
If I could add one thing to that, that is what we try and do with RASC. And earlier when I said we advocate for you, our community down at Reno Tahoe for those cheaper flights, that advocacy is not to Reno Tahoe Airport. They do a great job, have great air service development folks. But we're working with them and advocating with the airlines, trying to do some things with how revenue is used. The airports have limits on how we can incentivize airlines, but these regional air service corporations that we're a part of is pretty wide open on what we can do. And so that's another thing that we're trying to do, and why we participate with the Regional Air Service Corporation.
Thanks, guys. Does anybody else have questions for either Kevin or Darren? Lynn, did we get any on the telephone?
I did not, but I know Ted has some.
All right, Ted.
I do. In the interest of time, I'll ask you each one question. I want to say that both presenters did a great job and answered a lot of the questions that did come into me. So first one, Darren, you did note a whole slew of new routes that are coming in the future or already established. But we did have one individual that wanted to know, on that Hawaii route, is it direct to Maui?
Well, I will tell you, thank you for the question. Hawaii is our number one unserved market right now as we poll our travelers. And, it's hard to say. We have conversations around Hawaii going with multiple airlines. And in fact, I will be in Dallas in 2 weeks to speak directly with Southwest about Hawaii and other routes. It could be Maui or it could be Honolulu. Those are the two most likely nonstops from here. And we're only going to get one. And, there's no way to tell. It'll be on the data that the airline is looking at and where they think they can make the great, the best margins, if you will. But honestly, we would take either. And of course, Southwest flies inter-island now. So honestly, if it turns out to be Southwest, it's easy to hop between the islands, and same is true for Hawaiian.
Okay, thank you. And for Kevin, who approves your master plan ultimately? Is it your board?
Yeah, it'll be the board of directors. And for those of you that watched that process in 2014-15, we're going to have a lot of workshops and open houses in the community. Ultimately, the board of directors will approve the master plan, but the FAA does have to approve our forecast and our airport layout plan. Those are the only two things they approve. So there's a little combination of both things there. But they'll approve the whole document. Those are the two things the FAA's looking at.
Okay, I'm going to sneak another one in on you real quickly. Are your ACT meetings Brown Act meetings, or?
They are not. So the ACT forum was set up by me. So it's a staff directed function. I presented it's called a standard procedure instruction that staff developed, and just let the board know we're doing it. They were supportive, but it's all directed by staff, so it's not a Brown Act meeting. But all the meetings are recorded. They're all on our website. You can watch them later. We post an agenda, but it's not a Brown Act meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. And again, thank you to the presenters. You did a great job of answering questions before they were asked.
Actually, I have one more that just came in, if I may. This is for Darren. What is Reno Tahoe Airport doing to reduce greenhouse gas impact?
Thank you for the question. This is an area that I think all airports are really trying to lean in now. And what we've done here is install basically electric charging stations, if you will, for the equipment that move aircraft around. And so around our terminal complex, we have that electrical infrastructure in place now. And now we work with the airlines to replace all of the fossil fuel powered ground service equipment, we call it GSE, with electric based equipment. And then they keep it plugged in, it runs off batteries. Airports, the biggest contribution to greenhouse gas emissions obviously come from the ground. And so the more we can get aircraft to turn off their APUs, we call it. So we put power and air conditioning into each jet bridge. We have the ground service equipment operate electrically instead of with fossil fuels. That's how we can move the needle on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And we are making great progress on that here. Happy to report and look forward to continue to reduce our footprint. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again to Kevin Smith, who's the general manager of the Truckee Tahoe Airport, and to Darren Griffin, who's the president and CEO of the Reno Tahoe International Airport. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now we're going to turn to Harry Weiss, who's the CEO of the Tahoe Forest Hospital System, and he is going to give us a COVID update.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to share with you just for a couple moments here. Our team has been really thoughtfully involved with COVID-19 for 20 months now. I don't think we could have ever estimated that. And we do estimate that it's going to last several more months, though I do have some good short-term or intermediate news. We're also prepping for the flu season, which is also about us. And some of the what I consider good shorter-term news is that the peak day for positive lab tests in the world was back on August 19. In the US, it was August 27, California, August 31, in the state of Nevada, September 10, and then coming down to local, our 3-county area, which includes the Incline Village area and our portions of Placer and Nevada County. It really looks like we peaked about 2 weeks after Labor Day, somewhere around that September 17 period. We've been in what I call a little bit of a higher choppy zone, but as I'm looking at, I do a report internally every week, and I'm hopeful that we may see a bit of a drop off. Back on the weekend, it's July 30, we only had 20 new positive lab tests during that week. And for example, on 9/17, we had 118. So we'd love to see numbers fall below 50 for a given week as well. It does look like Placer County peaked around 8/16, about a month before our region. One of the things I do look at a little bit is it's interesting that as a percentage of population, the number of positive lab tests that we have in Placer County is about 8.8%. In Nevada County, the positive lab tests as a percentage of population is about 8.6%. In our 3-county region, it's about 8.5%. By contrast, the U.S. is 13.6%. California is 12% positive lab tests to population. and worldwide it's only 3.1%. So it's possible the worldwide numbers of some 239 million are understated just a tad. But the bottom line is, looks like we might have peaked short-term 9/17, and we're hopeful we'll see a further decline from that. And one of the things kind of watch for our team, our medical staff is going to be sending a thoughtful, repetitive message, just really thanking our community and urging our community to continue to consider vaccines, that they are a safe way to really stop this disease, just like we were able to stop smallpox or polio many decades ago. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Harry. We appreciate that update. And it's good to hear that the numbers appear to be improving. Lynn, do we have any stump speeches this morning?
Yes, I have one, and Caroline from TTCF has one. The North Lake Tahoe Truckee Leadership Program is now accepting applications. Chamber is very proud to be one of the founding partners of this program. It's a great opportunity to learn about the region, its issues, challenges, opportunities, while you also develop and hone your leadership skills. This program's been around since 2004, and we've graduated over 400 people from it who are now serving their employers and our community in a variety of ways. We're thrilled to be back in 2022. We had to go virtual last year, but we're planning on being in person and also offering a virtual Zoom option, but you will get the most out of it if you're able to participate in person. So if you want to learn more, visit TahoeTruckeeLeadership.com. We're also having a leadership recruitment breakfast November 3rd, and you can read more about that on the website, and that's where you can gather with some alumni and a local regional speaker that's going to be inspirational, motivational. So you can also email me at lynn@truckee.com if you have any questions. Caroline, did you have something?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to mention 2 upcoming TTCF events. On Friday, October 22nd, the Mountain Housing Council has their quarterly meeting. But the public is welcome to join, and partners will be providing updates on the actions that were laid out in the recently announced emergency proclamation. So it'll be a good one to attend. And the Forest Futures Salon events are back after taking a summer break. On Wednesday, October 27th, we'll be doing Wildfire One-on-One. So you'll hear experts discussing the impacts of fire on forest landscapes. And I will drop that link in the chat for the direct link to our calendar on our website. Thank you.
Thanks. And then Dave Diamond, I see that you have a digital hand up there. Do you have a speech, something to say?
I do. Thanks very much. Piggybacking on what Kevin had said, thanks for that awesome job, Kevin. We have the best GM. There will be a coffee talk on this Thursday, October 14th at 8:30 a.m. at the Lift House Coffee Company. This is formerly Tough Beans. That will be Lindsay Romack and Jan Zabriskie from Town Council speaking about trails and transportation in Truckee. So that will be there. And then on Friday, October 15th, we've got Kat Rolfe from the Airport Board with Kevin Smith at Wild Cherries at 2:30 p.m. We have a bunch of other meetings that are scheduled. You can see at coffeetalk.app, or if you're on Facebook, facebook.com/coffeetalkapp. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And is there anybody else? All right. If not, we'll close. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for a great presentation, and we'll see you again next month. It's the second Tuesday of every month. And just a reminder, the program's rerun on Channel 18, and recordings are available on Truckee.com and TahoeTruckeeMedia.com. Thanks, and have a great morning. Take care.